can you drive Lyft and Uber if your car has too many miles on it? Now, obviously, there are different vehicle requirements. Things like having, a newer car, depending on the year, your car may be too old to drive Lyft and Uber. Or, like, say, if your car doesn't have 4 doors, or something like that. Basically, there's certain limitations depending on your vehicle. But this, having too many miles, never really occurred to me. So I did a lot of research basically for this question because I was curious. I was like, I don't know. I never really heard about that you can't drive for them if you have too many miles. Now, here's what gets really, really interesting about this question is that basically the person emailed me saying, hey, Mark, I saw that you basically can't drive if you have over 150,000 miles in your car. Secondly, do you think they're strict on enforcing that? Now, first off, what I've seen, and granted, this may be different city to city, and I'll kind of get to that. But in terms of the documents you have to give Lyft and Uber, I don't see them looking at your miles. Obviously, I'm not trying to tell you to drive for them or not to drive for them. That's up to you. But I will say, do I think they're strict about enforcing the miles rule? I personally don't think so. I could be wrong, but I personally don't think so because you submit to them your insurance. They do a background check on you. You have to submit to them your driver's license, your car. Like basically, you have to submit all this stuff and documents related to you and your vehicle. Yet, not really anything related to the amount of miles on your vehicle. So I don't see them being strict about enforcing that. It's not like they say, hey, provide us with a document explaining the exact amount of miles on your car. That would be one thing, but they don't do that, so I can't see them being strict about enforcing it, but I could be wrong. Now, getting to the main question, though, is can you actually drive for them, though? Like, is an issue driving for them if you have too many miles? It's dependent city to city, and this is what I thought was really interesting. So, for example, in Boston, if you look at the vehicle requirements, like I said, every city is different, just in terms of different state legal rules. In Boston or Massachusetts or even here in California, it's pretty much, you can drive, like, as long as you fit the normal vehicle requirements. In Minnesota, however, that is not the case. In Minnesota, you cannot drive for Lyft and Uber if you have above 150,000 miles on your car. And I thought that was really interesting. Like I said, I never even thought of this, but it's very, very, very different state to state. This is why back in the day, if you went to search for, Uber and Lyft vehicle requirements, you just see, oh, here are the requirements, that's it. Now, if you go on their site, they'll actually say, here are the requirements for Delaware and, Minnesota or Arkansas or whatever state you're in. They'll actually have different vehicle requirements depending on the state, because obviously the legal rules are a little bit different. And that's what I thought was pretty interesting. Looking at the Boston rules, they didn't even mention miles. Like I said, I didn't even think about having too many miles in your car until I saw this question. But then when I went on Minnesota's vehicle requirements, they explicitly stated you have to have under 150,000 miles in order to drive for both Lyft and Uber. So that's maybe like a state rule just to make sure that your car is running properly and doesn't have, too much baggage, so to speak, on the car, so you can get people from point A to point B as safely as possible. So I hope this video is helpful. Obviously, like I said, I did a lot of research. The best advice I can give to all the drivers out there, let's say if you do have an older car that does have a lot of miles on it, my best advice is, one, check your state's requirements. Don't just look on a general blog or something saying like, oh, here are the requirements, because they're quick bullet points that can apply or meant to apply basically to a broad spectrum. I would highly suggest checking your city and your state and see if, and just literally, I'm not joking, in Google say like say if you're in Miami, say Miami or Uber Miami vehicle requirements or something like that, or Florida Uber vehicle requirements or whatever, something like that. So that way you're getting the vehicle requirements specifically and accurately for that state and that city. So that way your car is good. Secondly is about them being strict. Like, for example, do I think, let's say if you do have over 150,000 miles and you're in Minnesota and you're driving, do I think Uber and Lyft's going to come after you? Honestly, no, because I don't see how they would. I don't see how they would know if you did have over 150,000 miles. But the last thing you want to have happen, because obviously if there is a clause for Minnesota, but not for Massachusetts, for example, it states you have to have under 150,000 miles, that goes into legal territory. And if I were you, I would not drive. The reason why I say that is, like say this, like say God forbid you're driving Lyft and Uber, you get into an accident, and they find out that your car has above 150,000 miles. Now, I don't know, but I don't know if, like, say, your insurance get weird about covering you. Obviously, Lyft and Uber legally will cover their drivers and their drivers' cars. And obviously, it depends on state to state as well when it comes to that. But obviously, Lyft and Uber does have their own insurance, too, to help out the drivers. I don't know if Lyft and Uber would say, hey, you know what? We're not going to cover you. We told you no vehicles above 150,000 miles. You do have that, we're not going to cover you. I don't know if that would happen. Obviously, I'm thinking very, very worst case scenario here.